Alright, hello everyone, it's Silver Kyle, and today I'm going to be talking about Batman Arkham Knight. This is kind of like my review, more my impressions video, because I recently just beat the main storyline about 18 hours into the game, and I think this is a good point to be able to talk about everything that I think about this game so far. And I love it. I'm just going to get that out of the way. And also, the week before I played this game, I beat Batman Arkham City. And then the week after that, I beat Batman Arkham Knight, and I'm still not tired. I just beat the main mission, and I'm going to go back and still play a lot of the side missions, because they're so much fun. So that's really good to know that you can play two Batman games side by side, for me anyway, and not feel burnt out yet. That's really a testament to how well this game is. The series as well, but this game feels like the definitive Batman game. 18 hours in. The main storyline's maybe 14 hours, give or take, because I've done some side missions here and there. And I feel like this is probably the longest Batman game so far. I have not played Origins, but I've beaten Arkham Asylum and I've beaten Arkham City and now Arkham Knight as well. So this one feels like the longest one so far. And the side missions, they feel like they're part of the storyline. I'll get to that eventually. But my first impressions when I first played this game, I first popped it in. It was awesome. The introduction of this game is excellent. This is one of the best introductions that I've ever seen. Even just showing the credits, it felt like it was a big moment, like a big experience. This is not just like your regular game. And they have music playing in the background, and the first time you have to press a button is awesome. If you've played Arkham City, and there's a lot of things that happen in Arkham City, more so the ending, that reflect what happens in this game. And I really also like how they tie in a lot of the stuff with the ending of Arkham City, and they bring it into this game. And I will not be spoiling anything in this. This is a spoiler-filled review / impressions video. I might do a spoiler-filled video at some point just to talk about all of the storyline that happens in this, but we'll see how that goes. So the introduction is excellent. And then when you get to first play as Batman and fling through, when you first glide with your cape on and you're shooting your bat hook around and you're just flinging around Gotham, it's so much. It's been fun before, but it just feels so much crisper and smoother, and the graphics are amazing in this. I did a video recently where I talked about it. It doesn't really feel like we're at the next gen level yet. Like, I haven't felt that next gen experience, but I kind of feel it with this game because the graphics are just so good. Everything in this game feels superior to Arkham City in every way. Definitely. The combat is smoother, is more fluid. It feels more natural. Before it was excellent before, but it's even better now. And the additions that they add, the grunts that you fight against, there's always constantly different ones, so that you're constantly changing the way that you approach them. Some of them are medics, so they can actually bring people back to consciousness. You'll beat them up, you'll knock them out, and then the medics will come back and revive them. You're like, oh god, I have to fight them again. So you always have to try to think of taking down the medics first. There's bigger guys that you have to use different combats to go against them. There's people that have shields. There's people that have electric pads that shock you, and you can't attack them from the front. There's so many different things in this game, and one of the things that I love the most about the combat is one of the ways that you can jump down and do a fear tactic and tackle a bunch of people in a row. And you can upgrade that so you can tackle up to 5 people, and it kind of slows down time. That's really useful, and it just really feels like a Batman game, because Batman, that's how he operates. He can take on a bunch of people at once, but it's better for him to kind of go up in the shadows and fly down, attack a few people, run away. I really like that. Another thing too is that Batman is a detective. And I love, one of my favorite things is the gadgets, obviously. Whether he's hacking into something, finding out the password, or if he's using a different voice, and you have to sync up the thing so you can find the actual voice so you can use it to get access to a specific building, or if he has to find fingerprints, so he has to use the monitors and cameras, and he has to go forward and rewind and find out where they put their fingers so you can get the fingerprints and use it. And one of the favorite things that I liked that wasn't in the previous games that I had played, I think it's actually in Origins, but it's rewinding and fast forwarding an event that happens. So somehow your gadgets are able to illustrate a computerized version of what happened. You can fast forward and kind of be exactly where everything took place to find more evidence. I really like that. I wish that they actually would have used it more in this game. In the main story, I think they only used it once. Maybe in the side missions they use it more often, but I really like that. Another part that I really enjoyed that I wish they would have done more of, really, this is the thing I think that I would have preferred to have the most is when you can double team. So you'd be battling somebody, and you'll either have Robin, Nightwing, Catwoman, somebody like that, an assistant, one of his side characters that will be there, and you'll be fighting together. And I love seeing like Batman with Robin fighting together side by side, and you're playing as Batman. You can kind of see Robin going back and forth and just beating people up, and then you can press this button, I think, for a dual team attack, and you both throw up this one character and then beat him up, and then you switch to that other character. So then you're starting to play as Robin or Nightwing or Catwoman, and you keep going back and forth. So you're just constantly beating people up, and it's so fun. I really wish that we could have done that with like having maybe like 50 characters on screen and having like everybody, like all of Batman's side characters, and just having like just crazy all-out brawl. I think that would have just been a blast. But I wish that we would have had more of that. And to an extent, that's kind of like what you want is a game that keeps you wanting more of something, because it kind of teases you. I think I would have preferred a little bit more, but at least it's not to the point where it's like, oh, it's excessive. It always feels like you're doing something different in this game. And even when if you don't want to do the main mission, you can do the side stories, and it feels like real parts of if the side missions feel like they're still part of the main game, which is awesome. Like because it's happening at the same time, you constantly just keep unlocking all the side missions, and because they're happening at the same time as the main mission, and you're unlocking them through the main mission, it feels like it's still a part of the main storyline. Gotham's basically in peril, and Batman is the only person that can take everyone on, and you're constantly have to go and beat up a bunch of henchmen that have a specific part of Gotham locked down. There's bombs around Gotham you have to get. The Riddler's back with his Riddler trophies, obviously, and you can kind of do his missions. You have other villains that are out there that you have to stop because they're robbing banks or doing things or transporting stuff. There is places that are locked down by like robots that are kind of like grid-based, and they kind of like will shoot you if they find you, so you have to knock those down. There's firemen that you have to rescue. There's so many other things in this game, and they all feels part of the main storyline, which is freaking awesome. Speaking of the main storyline, I just keep segueing into different stuff as I think about it. The main storyline, the main villain is Scarecrow, and they really did a good job at the beginning of showing that Scarecrow is the main menace. But Arkham Knight is also kind of this other character that is almost like the main villain. Like Scarecrow is only at the beginning, and you constantly hear him throughout the game, but I felt like you only really see him at the last 10% of the main story mode, and that's when he's like the main villain. But I felt that like throughout the 90% that you're playing, you only hear about him once in a while, and obviously he's part of like things that are going on, but you're kind of doing other missions that are kind of related to what he's doing, but kind of not at the same time. You're just trying to get closer to Scarecrow. So I kind of felt like, I wish I could have seen a little bit more Scarecrow. But Arkham Knight is the other character that's the secondary villain, and he's this mysterious character that you don't know who it is. And what I liked about this is that if you know your Batman lore, it's pretty awesome. That's all I'm going to say. I was happy with who ends up being the Arkham Knight. It's really interesting. And one of the only negative things to this game is that Batman is constantly always somehow incapacitated. I find like in Asylum there was something wrong, or maybe Asylum there wasn't anything wrong, but City there was something wrong with him, and this one there's something wrong with him. But at the same time, there's something that's going on with Batman in a few different ways, and in the end they kind of happen at the same time. And it was really interesting. This is more so toward the ending, but the way that they do the ending is so... I really enjoyed that last 10%. More the last 5% of the game, if you actually pay attention to the percentages, at 95% to 100% of the last bit of the game, it's really interesting what goes on. So I might actually do a spoiler-filled review just to talk about that, because it's really, really cool. So that's pretty much it. I've talked about everything that I can think of off the top of my head. But I will say that the side missions really, I think that was the biggest things to... the Batmobile. Didn't talk about that at all. So the Batmobile is in this game, and it feels so nice driving it around. When it's first introduced, Batman has a line to say, and it's at the beginning of the game, and it's so good. And another thing too, Kevin Conroy back as Batman, as the voice of Batman, because he wasn't the voice for Batman in Origins. Same thing with Mark Hamill as the Joker. It's same thing. So I really like hearing their voices. I grew up with the animated series, so it's just, when I think of Batman, his voice, it's Kevin Conroy. I am the Knight, I am vengeance, I am Batman. I think it's the other way around, but either way, I am the Knight, I am vengeance. I am Batman. I think it's the other way. I think he says I am vengeance. Either way, I think I'm losing my voice from doing the Batman voice. Anyway, and Mark Hamill as the Joker. My goodness, it's so weird to think that Luke Skywalker is the perfect voice for the Joker. Anyway, it's really nice to have their voices back. But seeing the Batmobile, it's kind of like some people it's a hit or miss. Some people really don't like it because it doesn't really drive that well. You do get used to it after a while. At the beginning, I was like, oh god, what the hell am I doing? Eventually, I got used to it, and you have to get good with it at one point because you have to start doing races. But another thing that happens is you can actually turn it into a tank. That's kind of, once again, not really a Batman thing, but it kind of reminds me of Batman Begins, and there's actually quite a few things in this game that remind me of that movie. If you've played the game and you've seen the movie, you kind of know what I'm talking about. Anyway, the Batmobile, he uses it sometimes as a tank in the movie, because he had to, like, he was on the rooftop and he had to blow through, I guess, a fence so that he could drive away with it, and it basically kind of feels like that, although he's against other tanks that are not manned by people. It's actually just robots. So once again, Batman doesn't kill anybody in this game, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I really felt that the tank missions felt natural and very good. Whereas when you're driving, you do get used to it. I felt anyway. And there's times when you're going through tunnels and you actually have to go upside down and side by side. It's crazy, but it's lots of fun. There's just so much in this game that it always feels like you're doing something different. You never feel bored of one specific mission because they're all different. You're either using your gadgets, you're using your detective mode, you're using, you're battling, you're doing all these combats. You have a few boss fights. That's probably one of my biggest negatives, is that you don't have a lot of boss fights. I loved Arkham Asylum because of all the boss fights, and other reasons too, because it felt contained, and I just really liked Asylum on its own. I thought that actually Asylum has the best story out of the three that I've played. Once again, I haven't played Origins, but either way, great game. Combat is awesome. Batmobile is awesome. The dual fighting is a blast. All the side missions actually feel useful. Like, you actually, that's what I'm going to go do. I've beaten this game and I want to go back and do all the side missions. So I very much enjoy this game. This is one of the best games that I've played all year. This is my favorite game of the year so far. This is one of the best games that I've played in a few years. This is just a fantastic game. If you have the Xbox One or the PS4 and you liked any of the Batman games, or if you think you might like because you haven't played any of them, pick this game up. You are not going to regret it. I freaking love this game. I'm thinking, like, I don't know, 9.5 out of 10. If I have to give a rating, it's amazing. So thank you all for watching. You've been bearded in. Beardage.